What's good, Knicks fans? What's good, Knicks Nation? I want to welcome you back to the Shir Brilliance Podcast. 3 days away. We're 3 days away. We're 3 days away, I think, from our front office making us proud as a fan base. But before I go there, just want to get a couple of things out of the way. First and foremost, congratulations to the 2020-22 NBA champions, Golden State Warriors. Listen, man, I'm always about my Knicks, but if there's any team that wins a championship that I'm not necessarily mad at, it's the Golden State Warriors. First and foremost, they built it from the ground up. Never really, went out and acquired people to help them win. KD is a different story. Somebody, he came to them. You know what I mean? And they went out and recruited him, yes, but they had all the pieces, and they had won a championship prior to that. So they get props. Don't get crazy. Those boys won a dynasty, and they did it during the LeBron James era. So, LeBron James is great. His time and his run, phenomenal. But he has a counterpart who was able to win a dynasty, a team who was able to maintain and win a dynasty during his time. So history is going to look fondly on the Golden State Warriors. If the Knicks aren't winning championships, I wouldn't mind if the Golden State Warriors won 7 more. Okay? Let's talk about it. I wouldn't mind it. So that's out of the way. Congratulations to those cats. They did it the right way. And I'm a big fan of Petty Clay and Petty Steph. So those boys are doing their thing, and big ups to those cats as well. So in this video, we're going to cover a couple of things, and I promise I'll try not to keep it too long, but there's a couple of things I want to cover. It is draft week. Rumors are running amok. Knicks Twitter is on fire, and I'm here for all of it. All right? I'm here for all of it. But what I don't want to do is get baited into clickbait. Random people throwing out these Knicks rumors. We knew that was going to happen because first and foremost, they know as Knicks fans, we absorb content. So we're going to be clicking on links, trying to read through, and they'll bait you into having a salacious title, and then you click on it, and it's like 2 pictures and a former quote from a writer that we've already read and heard from, and it's crazy. But that's just how it works. But the difference is, first and foremost, this video is going to just cover a couple of points that I think is important for us to look out for and to prepare for as we lead up to the draft. All right? First and foremost, the trade rumors. The main ones primarily out of the way. What will our front office do? Will Julius be gone? Will they be able to promote Obi into that spot and get some value back from Julius? Hopefully that value is in the form of a high top 5, top 4 pick. We would love to see Jaden Ivey come to the Knicks. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well during this video. But that would be ideal. I think that is the question, and I think that's what needs to happen. On draft day, on draft lottery day, when we didn't move up and it was revealed that we had the number 11 pick, I stated at that time, this is not a year that we're going to be utilizing that 11th pick. This is a trade year, so this is an opportunity for the front office. We've acquired the assets, and we're going to go into that, and I don't want to get ahead of my video. We've acquired what we needed to acquire to be able to make the necessary move that we need to make. We have assets. We have a talent in Julius. So this year, we're not going to stand pat at 11. Either we're moving up or we're trading. I don't want to trade because I love this youth movement that we have. I think we need to add a piece, and that's part of what we're going to be talking about in this video as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about the trade rumors, particularly surrounding Julius and Sacramento as well. We're going to talk about the ability for other teams to block us. I don't like how this feels, okay? There's too much chatter about the New York Knicks being in a position to make a move to go up to the number 4 position. I don't like how this feels because it reminds me of Steph Curry. So the year when Steph was going to come to us, the buzz started being out that D'Antoni loved this young kid out of Davidson, and he would be an ideal fit for the system. And ironically, Sacramento, oh, it wasn't Sacramento, it was Golden State Warriors. So I'm bugging. It's not ironic. But Golden State he may have been on his radar because of the NCAA tournament, but there was no buzz. They didn't even bring him in to work out. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden they have interest because they saw New York had piqued interest in this player. So I don't want that to happen again. And I think it might happen again. So it's going to be a lot of excitement leading up. Everybody's talking about Ivy at this point. But any of the players in the top 5, I think, will be of value to us. What I just don't want is for a team that is in the top 3 to select Jaden Ivey, thus leaving us with power forwards. It's a power forward heavy draft. And we're already, you know where we are. I think we have our power forward already. So that's the only thing that bothers me, that the word is out. Everybody knows New York has their eyes on Ivy, and another team can switch up at the last minute, as many teams do, and try to scoop him because they think he might be something or the next something, and they take him instead of the player they may have had on their board for months. And lastly, I just want to go back, right? So I'll start the video by revisiting the earlier conversations when we hired Leon. What was Leon talking about in terms of his strategy and what he saw for our team? What was his vision? What was his take on the players? Who does the front office consider to be our core? Is it RJ? Is it Mitch? Is it Obi? How does the front office feel about a core and building the youth and doing this thing the right way? So I was able to kind of get a couple of clips that are going to work into this video so we can really kind of go back in time and take a look and maybe get some answers to the questions that we have now, since it is the policy of the front office not really to speak or show their hand at any time of year, actually. So you got to take those moments when they do interview and give you some tidbits, and you have to think about it. Listen, all right, this was their initial thought process. How have they done? Have they stuck to the plan? Have they adhered to what it is they had set out to accomplish? Or if not, where are they? How close are they? Have they made progress towards it? So that is the main reason for me giving a little bit of information about the videos that I'm going to put in store. But other than that, just to do a hype video and really talk about, listen, it's our time, baby. I feel it. It was always my belief, listen, as long as we build around youth, we can outlast this LeBron era. As much as I talk about LeBron dominated the Eastern Conference. So there was always this belief that we got to wait until this man retires before we have any momentum or moves that we can make. But then you also got to understand that there's always somebody that's on the come up. So ironically and thankfully, Steph Curry, KD, LeBron, they all came in the same era. So their time is pushing a little bit. But now all of a sudden we got this draft over the last few years that has produced Ja Morant, Jason Tatum. So these boys are starting to come up. I want the Knicks to be part of providing that talent infusion to be one of the stars that's going to go and lead the next 20 years. So this is a key. I think this is a key draft for us, and we're going to see what we can do out of it. So without further delay, let's get into it. My name is Shir. I am the host of the Shir Brilliance Podcast. During the regular season, you'll find episodes or a component of my program called Knicks Deli. So I'm the owner of Knicks Deli, and that's where we chop it up after every win and visit Knicks Deli. There are 4 items on the deli menu. That's the chopped cheese. That's the bacon, egg, and cheese. That's the dollar slice. That's the quarter water. Okay, so this is not Knicks Deli today, but I wanted to kind of keep that on your radar. So when the season starts back up, you know to look for the Knicks Deli, and you know who the owner is, Shir Brilliance of the Knicks of the Shir Brilliance Podcast. But let's jump into it. So we're going to revisit the front office. Okay, when we hired Leon Rose, and Leon Rose, just like any employee that's newly hired to a company, we wanted to know, what is your vision? And I love the fact that Mike Breen started off introducing that question to Leon Rose, because we really wanted to know what his vision and what his plan was for the organization. So I'm just going to give a quick synopsis of um, what he had said. So for the most part, he had talked a little bit about um, feeling that we have two core pieces. So the two core pieces that he mentioned were R.J. Barrett and Mitchell Robinson, right off of the bat. And the same thing, um, and this is prior to him hiring Thibs as coach. Once Thibs was hired as the coach for the New York Knicks, he was also asked by Mike Breen and some other fans, who on the team do you see being here long term, or really kind of being part of what you have envisioned for the future of this team? And he had mentioned R.J. Barrett. He loves his work ethic and his potential. But he also mentioned Mitchell Robinson as well, which was a little bit curious to me, because when he first came on, he made it his business to tell Mitchell Robinson that he doesn't think he's serious enough to be playing at the level that he needs the team to play. And you saw the type of season that Mitch had. Mitch got injured during the season in that Coach of the Year run that Coach Thibs had. But the following season, when he came back, was this year, and you see the type of year that Mitch had. So Mitch showed that not only can he play at a high level, but he can be available for a season. And that's all that you ask for. But the important piece to my whole spiel that I just laid out is the fact that there are the two pieces that both Leon as well as Coach Thibs feel are core pieces to the Knicks in the future: Mitchell Robinson and R.J. Barrett. All right? So that was in the first and second year of them being hired. That was in Leon's first year, and then when they brought on Thibs as the coach, then that was established as well. So for both of them to say RJ and Mitch are key to being core pieces, you're like, okay, so ultimately the moves that they consider moving forward will be to build or add to those two pieces. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to fast forward to the draft, and the New York Knicks select Obi Toppin. Now, the key part about that pick was Obi Toppin wasn't expected to be or to drop down to us at that spot. So when they flashed on Leon Rose's reaction, his reaction was a little bit crazy, because he was real, he was high fiving. You had seen him outwardly just excited and ecstatic about this pick, and I was as well. I didn't expect him to be there, but because obviously we wanted a point guard, we needed a point guard, so I was looking at Halliburton. But when he dropped, I'm like, damn, what a consolation prize. But in terms of Leon, you got to wonder, what was his excitement. You know that he worked with him because he represented him. But also, it's a New York kid, and the talent level, if you add Obi to Mitch and to RJ, now you have your five, now you have your future four, and you have your either three or your two. RJ can play either position. And then it's a matter of, all right, damn, so we just need to either get a three or a two, and we need to get a one. So I think they look at Obi as an additional piece to that core. So when you have the core of Obi Toppin, RJ Barrett, and Mitchell Robinson, then really what you need left is a point guard. Because once you have your point guard, that additional person whether it's at the 2 or at the 3, can bring a lot of the intangibles. You have skill players at the other positions. At 3 of your 5 positions, you will have high level skill players. Hopefully, building up to be high level skill players. Then you just need intangibles. You have Mitch at the 5 who brings a lot of those intangibles. He erases mistakes. He brings that defense. And then at the 2, honestly speaking, it could be Grimes. I think once Grimes started playing as a rookie, for him to earn that much time from Thibs under a Thibs regime was because he can knock down the open 3-point shot and he can play defense. That's what you want at your 2. You know what I mean? At your 2 guard. And he might be a little bit small, but the 3 and D is there. So if we are able to secure a player like Jaden Ivey, who is explosive offensively, he is, to me, I've said this to somebody before, he's Latrell Sprewell. He brings Latrell Sprewell energy. Does he have a lot of room for growth? Absolutely. Does he have a lot of learning to do as he moves from the college level to the pro level? 100%. But I am not only a Duke fan, but I work at Purdue University. So being a Duke fan, I was able to see the talent that Cam has. But Cam struggled to find where he fit in a Zion and RJ dominated offense, so to speak. And then he ran into some injuries that kind of, stuck with him, and he never really found his footing. And the same thing applied for when he went to Atlanta. Now, when you're looking at Jaden Ivey doesn't have a history of injury, and he hasn't made it to the pro level, so he doesn't have a documented history of injury on a pro level as well. So a lot of people will compare, all right, listen, do we want to kind of give up on Cam, who never really established himself with us? Who's the better player, Cam or Ivy? Jaden Ivey. And all day I'll say, we're taking Jaden and running with it, because he also is part of the timeline for our youth. But Cam can be used as a trade asset. It's simple. You know what I mean? Nothing against him. We know he's talented, which is why we expect to get something from him. But if the New York Knicks are able to add Jaden Ivey to this group, they have their core 4. And I'm telling you, and I know that it was true, when I created that last video that spoke about the Golden State Warriors having laid the blueprint for how you build a contending team, and the fact that the New York Knicks are doing the same in putting together pieces that can be a competitive team long-term and short-term, I am not delusional. This is what's happening, and this is why I have confidence and I believe in this front office. So I think that we are on the path that Leon, as well as Coach Thibs, stated very early on when they got there. Coach Thibs said, what I want to do very early on is make sure that I establish a culture of hard work, that there is an expectation that's going to be established, with this organization and by the players that are here. First and foremost, to set your vision. And then you have to design a strategy and a direction that you want to go. We want to be a defensive team. But we also want to be mindful that this type of NBA is a 3-point shooting NBA. So they have to make adjustments according to the personnel. The staff and the administration, Thibs has done a great job, and the front office has done a great job of bringing different coaches in that have different philosophies and added to their team. Now, one thing about coaching is it's hard to hide good talent. So many of our coaches have been lost to phenomenal promotional opportunities, whether they're head coaches at their alma maters or elsewhere. So that's what happens in the NBA, and especially when you're in a high-profile market like New York. But that was also something that they wanted to do. Make sure they piece together of a team that can, support what Thibs is trying to do, as well as the front office. One thing that isn't said often enough is the relationship between Leon and Thibs. And at the end of the day, we can talk about how friendship may muddy the opportunity for someone in Leon's position to tell Thibs, well, this is what you have to do. But that's not always accurate because both of them have a job to do. And say what you will about Dolan, but Dolan wants to win. So, friendship or whatever aside, he stepped back and he said, listen, I've hired you to do the job. And the biggest criticism that is on me is that I'm always putting my hands in things. Well, he stepped back and he's like, I'm hiring the right people. And you two are friends. I said, this will work. I want to see some results. And as long as you have a plan and you're working the plan, I just want to see progress. So this is an opportunity that Leon is coming in, and Leon as an agent, former agent, with clients on his roster, he wants to see his players play. So I'm sure as he's acquiring these assets, whether it's through the draft or through trades that he feel can be integral pieces to the team, he's hitting Thibs up like, yo, when you going to let this man play? Bruh, I drafted him so he can play. Or this guy is going to be a future trade piece. How are we going to get rid of him if you don't give him some playing time? And I think that's why Cam began to really get a lot of playing time, in addition to there being COVID and injuries. But towards the end, before Cam got injured because he was going all out. He was playing good, aggressive, energetic, inspired basketball. And then unfortunately he got fouled and he landed wrong, and that took him out for the season. And I knew he knew that was his shot, so that he could kind of stand side by side with the rest of the team and show like this is what I bring to the table if given an opportunity. But needless to say, when Thibs came on, he wanted to establish his vision, his strategy, and his direction, and start to build and develop the players so that they know what his expectations are, they know what the playbook is, and to give them additional seasons so that they're familiar with the plays, so that becomes second nature. The reason I have a problem with a lot of other content creators or some analysts when they talk about Thibs is, all right, we don't see a lot of the motion that we may see in the Golden State Warriors offensive system. Do we have that same talent? No, we don't. When you get high-level players and talented players who have continuity and cohesion, and they're so familiar with the system, it's like the back of their hand, then they make any system look great. That's what happened in Chicago when Thibs had Derrick Rose, high-level, MVP-level Derrick Rose, and then the players that they had with them in Chicago. Similar system. But those players who know their system so well and they execute, then you win because they stick to the system and they don't get out of it no matter what breaks down. They have very little breakdowns. And I love the fact that our first season, when Thibs came on, a lot of the scouting report, opposing teams were saying, the New York Knicks, you got to play a perfect game because they make no mistakes. They don't beat themselves. We can't have a short memory. That season when he came in, teams were saying we don't beat ourselves. And at the 1 and the 2, when we had long defensive point guards to hold up, the backcourt, then everybody could play their role. And that's another thing. Everybody had a role. That's why I always laugh when I hear people talk about Mitchell Robinson needs to score more. If that wasn't the role that he's assigned, then, he's not going to score. And if that's something he wants to do at another team, then go to play at another team, bro. Because we need you for what it is you excel at. Offensive rebounding, defense, and grabbing rebounds and blocking shots. We need that, being a presence on the inside. You do that extremely well. We want Thibs to place you in a position to be most successful, and that's where it's at. So I love that piece in terms of bringing Thibs back for another season. You know what I mean? Another 2 seasons. So this season will be, if we're able to secure um, another young piece to add to our core, and this will be the core four. I love the core four term. It's New York all day. It's Yankees all day. Shout out to the mother flipping Yankees. It's New York all day. It's Yankees all day. When you think of core four in New York, you think of Jeter, Posada, Pettit, and who am I missing? Jeter, Posada, Pettit, and Mariano. All right, the closer. And the same thing could be said if we are able to get a Jaden Ivey. Then we will be talking about our core four being Ivy, Mitch, RJ, Obi. Bro, I'm rolling with that all day. Let's build on that all day. Throw Grimes in there. Boom. We got our two. Let's see what we can do with this team, bro. Let's see what we can do with this team. So, funny enough, as I'm looking at Twitter over the past few weeks, I'm thinking about our core four, right? So that made me jump back to some of the past mock drafts that those four, would come in and look at what their NBA comparisons are. So for RJ, his NBA comparison used to be possibly James Harden or possibly Jimmy Butler. Okay, Obi, his NBA comparison is Amari Stoudemire. Mitchell Robinson, his NBA comparison was Tyson Chandler. Jaden Ivey's NBA comparison is either John Morant or Donovan Mitchell. And Grimes' NBA comparison happens to be Spencer Dinwiddie. So tell me this. If you could have a team with Jimmy Butler, Amari Stoudemire, Jimmy Butler, Amari Stoudemire, Tyson Chandler, Donovan Mitchell, and Spencer Dinwiddie, would you want that? So that's my belief, bro. I really believe that we have a knockoff Jimmy Butler, knockoff Amari Stoudemire, a knockoff Tyson Chandler, a knockoff Donovan Mitchell, and a knockoff Spencer Dinwiddie, who may be better than Spencer Dinwiddie because he has a consistent 3-point shot, and he plays defense. So we are in good hands. But needless to say, I want to be clear with this video because a lot of people, if you watch my past videos, some of the comments that were made or some people who respond to me on Twitter, continues to come at me and say, bro, we need to stick with our youth. We don't need no trades, this, that, and the third. I agree. Listen to me. I agree with you. But we do need a signature move, and the signature move is the move up. And I know in order to move up, it just doesn't take draft picks. It takes assets. And the assets that I'm looking at are the veterans. So whether it's Julius, who is our richest asset, actually, and contrary to what we want to believe as Knicks fans, that man is a baller, just not in New York. So he's going to be a major asset that teams will consider. The draft picks that we have accumulated over the last few years, that's going to be something that needs to be thrown in as a sweetener possibly. Okay? Or you have Fournier, in which I don't think we're getting rid of. I think we may keep Fournier, but bring him off of the bench. We have Burks or Noel, Nerlens Noel. So it's going to take a combination of any of those players to be able to make a significant move. And that's why I say a signature move is just that, something significant in terms of adding to the youth and our core. That's all that I mean. Signature move does not mean Donovan Mitchell. I want to bring in somebody that has the potential to be Donovan Mitchell. Okay? I don't want to bring in another veteran or anybody. Kyrie, get all that. They're trying to distract us. They're trying to distract us. And that's not what I'm asking for. What I'm asking for is bring in a player that's young who can vibe with the core that we have, who can add to it, and our players know, like, yo, listen, we got our squad now. We got our five. You got your five? We got our five. Let's run. So I trust in Leon. I absolutely trust in Leon, and I want to keep our young core. Okay? Now, several other content creators hit it on the head. It may require us losing somebody that we love. And I've said this on past videos as well. Are we prepared to lose a Grimes? Are we prepared to lose IQ? Are we prepared to lose a young player like that? Are we prepared to lose a Sims? The New York Knicks have drafted well. They've found gems that are still not fully polished, but have potential. And it may take losing them to get to where it is we need to be. Are we prepared to lose that? So that's something that we have to be. In order to make any great strides, there has to be sacrifice. That's life. So we got to be prepared to consider that. Okay? But I'll tell you this much. If the New York Knicks at the end of this week have Jaden Ivey on their roster and still have Mitchell Robinson, R.J. Barrett, and Obi Toppin, then quickly, no pun intended, not the player, but very quickly, we've become athletic, we've become tough, we've become defensive, and we have enhanced our swagger. So now we fit the profile of all of the upcoming teams that are in the NBA. The Memphis Grizzlies, the Boston Celtics. That's all that I want. That would be a successful offseason for me. That's it. That's all that I would want. And this is why we've been compiling these assets. This is why we got the front office we have. Wes, Brock Alla, Leon, Scott Perry, to make this happen. And I love the fact that they've been working these phones, man. They've been visiting and scouting teams. They don't care if they're in another team's arena during the playoffs. They're there to do their job. They're scouting. They're all over the place. They're calling people. They're on the phones. They're working the phones. I love that. And we don't hear nothing from them. I love every part of that. Come on, man. Brick by brick, they're building this team. Brick by brick. So I'm with it, man. Honestly, I'm with it. I'm on record, like I said, this year is a trade year for them, so we're not necessarily going to keep that pick. The only crappy part about this whole ordeal is, once again, I can't harp on it enough. It reminds me of the Steph Curry year. That everybody is aware that the New York Knicks have interest in Jaden Ivey. Now, with the history of this front office, who've been infamously tight-lipped and never let you know what they're planning or what they're thinking, it makes me curious. Is this a smokescreen? Are we really interested in Jaden Ivey? Is that our target? Did they put that rumor out there for people to run with so it can be a deterrent for what it is we really want to do? Because Jaden Ivey would be perfect for us. But are you trying to distract other teams from seeing what our true selection interest is? That's the piece that makes this week so exciting. That's why I'm hyped for the draft this week, because we don't know. Maybe they put it out there to mislead other teams for what our real desire is. Maybe. So um, the rumors have never been so out of control, you know, prior to this. It's going to get intense over the next 3 days. Um, and the question really, as we get closer to the draft, will be, will Julius be shipped out? So I think because it's the fourth pick, and we keep talking about the fourth pick, it's Sacramento. So it's Julius's time. It's Julius's time. I think he needs a change. I know that we need a change. Sacramento would be an ideal situation for him. Similar to the Brooklyn Nets being an ideal situation for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I think Sacramento is California, so Julius is back in the sunshine uh, of California when he was in LA. Also, I think it's very low key, so he doesn't have to worry about the pressure of a huge spotlight, and he got talented pieces on that squad. So I think it's a win-win for both of us. If we're able to secure the fourth pick, they get a veteran who is ready to be plugged in, ready to go. He's talented, and he'll have something to prove. And he'll be completely on the West Coast, so we'll only have to see him a couple of times a year. All right? So I think that's what we're looking at. I think it's the perfect scenario. He would be off the grid. Um, and I think it's just a win-win. So I really hope Sacramento sees it the same way. Now, if we secure this trade and we snag Jaden Ivey and make whatever other moves we make, Thibs is going to be under the microscope. So I am a Thibs defender. Y'all already know this. You've watched some of my videos. I rock with Thibs, man. He reminds me of the best run that the Knicks have had since I've been watching them, and that's the 90s. But Thibs, I think, is on par for his 4-year contract. I believe he has a 4-year contract. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the first year, unexpectedly, he came in and he won Coach of the Year. So that's a high bar you already set. Second year was the return of the fans and COVID. You know what I mean? So when the fans were able to return full time, Julius's play dropped. We had injuries early on. The season was a wash. Put us in this position where we are now to be able to have the 11th pick. Hopefully we can flip that, move that up to the 4th, and we're another year where we're in the lottery and we're looking for a draft piece to add to our core. But in this year, if we make a trade for the high draft pick, we add to our youth and we make these strategic changes that we need to make in terms of whatever's next. Whatever the adjustment has to be made in the third year by Thibs, he needs to make it. So the question becomes, in your third year, Thibs, will you play the youth? Will you commit to keeping the youth together in the lineup and play them so that they can grow cohesively and really make this mark? Are you fully bought into this youth movement? Okay. And then this year would be the youth given that opportunity, but also, winning, losing, fighting, battling together. All right. And learning your system. And in the fourth year, it's all out. You have to win or have a major run with this squad. By that time, they should know everything. It's for many of them, it'll be like year 4 or year 5. So they're no longer our young core. They are the core. So results. And then it could either be, man, Thibs has really unlocked and unleashed this group on the league, or he got us to lay the foundation. Who's going to be that next coach that takes us over the top? That's why, and it'll show that the New York Knicks have given a coach an opportunity to develop, flourish, figure it out, make mistakes, and have an opportunity to thrive. All that we have been missing is consistency in any area. So for us to keep Thibs and allow him to get through his 4 years, don't necessarily extend him just yet. Don't want him to be a lame duck coach, but he knows what it is. And that's the value of that friendship at the top. But I'm telling you, if we add Ivy, who is an athletic talent, he has swag, he pops off the screen. So it's funny, I got into a Twitter, one of the Twitter rooms. I was in there and it was killing me because I was saying RJ Barrett doesn't necessarily pop off the screen. What I mean by that is if you have a floor full of young and talented players, prior to the second half of the season last year, RJ Barrett could easily get lost in that mix. He'll still give you like 24, but you'll be like, oh, snap, he got 24? Like, when did he? He just happened to go on a tear after the All-Star break in February. But RJ Barrett didn't pop off the screen. John Morant pops off the screen. So whether it's his speed, whether it's his drive to the rim, like fearlessly and with no regard to his body, whether it's dunking on somebody, that's popping off of the screen. That's what I mean. And towards the second half of the season, RJ had moments where he did that. Jaden Ivey, me being here at Purdue, he set this mother flipper on fire. He pops off the screen. And that's what I mean by popping off the screen. You add that to New York, that is New York all day. That is the Latrell Sprewell effect that he'll have on the team. And if many of y'all might be too young to remember when we signed Sprewell after he choked his coach in Golden State and we got him off of his year suspension, bro, he was an injection into the arm of our squad. Bro, he lit New York on fire. And that's what we need. And you put that kind of cat next to RJ Barrett, who is already like a bully, like a low-key bully. Come on, man. And Obi. Come on, man. And Mitch. Stop playing, man. So I'm the Block Ness monster, the bully, the lightning rod, and Jaden Ivey. Bro. Allen Houston Part 2 and Grime Time. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. And if we happen to keep IQ, fourth quarter quick, come on, man. Come on, man. I am hyped. I don't care. I am hyped. Yo, once again, man, it's the same path. We look at Golden State Warriors, bro. They built it from the ground up, and they didn't know what they were doing when they were doing it. They was just like, all right, this piece fits. This piece is nice. Man, they have an ability. Maybe we got to keep them together. And it wasn't always intentional. Once again, there were moments where they were about to trade one of them. They were going to trade Steph and keep Monte Ellis. They were going to trade Klay Thompson. And Jerry West had to stop in and say, what are y'all doing? Y'all bugging? So no front office has it all together. Some luck plays a role. And we need luck. We need luck. You know, but until we get luck, we got to continue to do the little things, which are develop these players and build that cohesion and that chemistry. And I think we've been doing that. So we're in a good space. It took us some time to get here. We've seen the development of our young players, our young pieces, and our young talent are good. But we need a young talent that has greatness potential. And I think that's Jaden Ivey or whoever we select in that position if we're able to get that high. I think we have a great farm system, and we've done a great job of developing our farm system. And that has to be commended from the front office as well. So I'm going to cut it short because, this is longer than I expected it to be, 44 minutes. Might be a little bit longer once I add some photos and some videos. But 3 days away. I'm excited. I think our front office will make us proud this week. And let's enjoy the ride. And look for the video at the end of the week about the outcomes of our draft, our moves, and possible trades. Same thing applies, people, to our lives as does our team. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Have a great week. Let's go, Knicks. I'm out. Shir Brilliance Podcast. Check us out. Subscribe, like this video, and share it with your friends. Hit me up on Knicks Twitter if you want to vibe. Let's go.